Hey, what's going on guys, Chris here, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you another detailed Overwatch guide, taking a good look at the character Roadhog. He's a close range killer machine, capable of causing massive amounts of damage, all whilst being able to take a lot of damage himself. Being a tank character, he's got more HP than most other heroes, with a total of 600 health, though without any armour or shield. Roadhog's got more of a unique playstyle when compared to other tank characters, as he's more suited for singling out lone players, flanking enemy positions, and focusing on unaware individuals before they can react. He's got a difficulty rating of 1 star, down to his high damage output, sturdiness and ease of use, though you'll still have to play smart and use those abilities properly to stay in the battle and maximise his effectiveness. So anyway, as a bit of background detail, just after the Omnic crisis, government officials gave the Australian Omnium, aka the robotics factory, along with the surrounding area to the Omnics as a gift to try and keep the peace. Though doing this displaced everyone who lived in the area, including Roadhog. The people weren't exactly very happy about this, as they lost their homes and their land, so a violent rebellion formed and struck against the factory and its robot population. This led to an explosion that destroyed the Omnium's fusion core, irradiating the entire region and littering the outback with debris, turning it into an apocalyptic wasteland. Roadhog had to adapt to the environment and live life as a junker, though he eventually became an enforcer and was hired as a bodyguard for Junkrat. The two of them left Australia not long after and went on an international crime spree. Now Roadhog's primary weapon is a scrap gun that functions in a similar way to a shotgun. The gun fires off shrapnel in a fairly wide spread, dealing a high amount of damage up close, and less further away. The scrap gun's blasts fire 25 pellets per shot, with each pellet dealing between 4 to 9 damage each. This basically means that the maximum amount of damage that you can deal from a blast with the gun is 225, which is more than enough to take out most targets in one shot. Though you will have to be right up close to your target to get those pellets to land. The further away you are, the less damage you'll deal, with the pellets becoming weaker as they travel longer through the air. Not only will the damage fall off become an issue for longer ranges, but so will the gun's accuracy, as the pellets are going to disperse through the air, with the spread becoming wider over distance, much like with Reaper's Hellfire shotguns. So less of those pellets are likely to make contact with your target, and the ones that do are going to deal less damage than they would up close, rendering the scrap gun's primary fire much more effective in close quarters, and not very good at all against anyone in the distance. The weapon can fire off 4 shots at a time before the need to reload, so it's best to make every shot count, and try to make sure that your opponent is in optimal range before opening fire. However, the scrap gun's not totally useless against enemies beyond close range, as it has a secondary function that fires a ball of shrapnel to round about 8 meters. And this ball then detonates, spreading the pellets forwards and outwards, shooting them in a similar way to the primary mode. All of the weapon's stats mirror the primary function when firing the secondary, as the number of pellets and the damage they cause are all pretty much the same. The main difference is that your shot will act as though it's been fired closer to a target that's further away, and can cause much more damage to enemies that are at slightly longer ranges. Plus the cone of pellets is slightly smaller, meaning that you'll have to be a bit more accurate to be effective. Though this also means that if you can land a perfect blast, more pellets are likely to hit the enemy and take away more health. With that said, the secondary function isn't very effective up close, as the ball of scrap that you fire will only deal 50 damage to anyone you hit directly. And if the ball hasn't exploded by the time it reaches your opponent, it's not going to deal anywhere near as much damage as it could after detonation. This means that you're going to have to judge distances more so when deciding which way you should fire the scrap gun at a target. If they're in close range, then the primary firing mode is going to deal most damage, though at medium to longer ranges, you're probably better off using that secondary function unless they get closer. Try and judge distances and even walk backwards away from an opponent who is slightly nearer than 8 meters. This will ensure that you're at a safer distance and that your secondary blast will detonate just before it reaches them, dealing much more damage. Something that's going to complement that close range scrap gun though is Roadhog's chain hook. And this is a tool that's extremely useful when going against an enemy that's just out of reach. Launching the hook at a target will deal 30 damage and pull them towards you, allowing for a quick follow-up shot with the scrap gun at a closer range. It can be thrown towards anyone within 20 meters, though missing a target and hitting a solid surface, barrier or Genji's deflect will stop the hook, forcing you to wait another 6 seconds until it can be used again. The chain hook scrap gun combo is a great way to kill enemies with normal health pools easily, and will impact most of the heroes in a big way too. It's best to aim at your opponent with the scrap gun, holding down the primary fire once you've grabbed them, and start to pull them in, and this will cause the gun to fire as soon as the chain hook completes, inflicting large amounts of damage. If your enemy manages to survive, finish them off with a melee attack or another blast from the gun in close range, and this should kill most targets nice and easy. It's best using the combo and support characters first, such as Mercy, Lucio and Zenyatta, as they can all be killed fairly easily, and this will prevent them from giving health to the rest of the enemy team. It can also be used against Pharah while she's airborne, to bring her back down to the ground. Plus the chain hook can also stop Bastion from using that sentry minigun and reconfigure him back into recon mode. Not only can the ability be used to drag your opponents closer to you, but it can also potentially save your team members' lives, as it can stun enemies, stopping some characters using their ultimate abilities, shutting down ultimates such as Pharah's Barrage, McCree's Deadeye, Reaper's Death Blossom, along with other normal abilities too, like Reinhardt's Charge. Using it at the right time could save yourself and your team from instant death. So remember this and use the chain hook as a stun ability to help protect as well as attack. Now, Roadhog may be a big damage sponge that doesn't have many ways to protect himself from hostile fire, but he does have the Take a Breather ability, which lets you regain half of Roadhog's health, 300 HP, in 1 second following a short animation. You'll be temporarily immobile and vulnerable to attack whilst using the ability, so it's highly advised to run to a safe place out of line of sight before using it, so that you can take full advantage and prevent enemies from taking away the health that you're trying to get back. Depending on which enemy you're against, the Take a Breather ability could be used in combat mid-battle, but it's only really effective against enemies that can't deal strong damage quickly, such as Winston. It won't be stopped by damage dealing attacks, but it can still be prevented by stuns and other abilities like McCree's Flashbang, another Roadhog's Chain Hook, and it can be countered by Anna's Biotic Grenade. Jumping off ledges and high platforms whilst using the ability is a great way to counter your lack of movement, as it'll still take effect as you fall, but you'll be moving at the same time, making you temporarily a harder target to hit. Roadhog's ultimate ability, Whole Hog, is one that can be used to both cause masses of damage, push players back and suppress the other team, and can be quite effective in different situations. Roadhog basically loads the scrap gun up with ammo continuously for 6 seconds, and blasts shrapnel outwards in a series of shots. The ultimate itself deals a total of 5,000 damage over its duration, but a large portion of this damage won't be utilised, down to how inaccurate it is with the pellets dispersing through the air in large cones. You can still move while using the ability, but you won't be able to use any other abilities and can't stop the animation whenever you want, meaning you should be extra careful when activating the ultimate. Be aware of anyone behind that could kill you, and try to get as much health back as you can beforehand, so that you can survive the ultimate's duration. Now, it may deal a whopping 5,000 damage in total, but you're only really going to be able to inflict high damage at close range, down to the shrapnel's high spread, and down to there being a huge knockback effect for each blast, which is going to push your opponents away from you out of the gun's optimal range for dealing that high damage. So if you want to use Whole Hog to kill your opponents, you'd be better off pinning targets against walls and using the ability in smaller rooms and enclosed areas, as the shrapnel will push them against these walls and surfaces and prevent them from being knocked back out of the gun's range. Otherwise, it's best as a suppression tactic, to force nearby hostiles away from you and objectives, acting as more of a crowd control tool. The knockback effect will disrupt enemy attack patterns and prevent them from pushing forwards. Sweeping over a bunch of targets within an area might not kill them, but it will push them away, which just might stop them from capturing or defending an objective, allowing your team to win the match. The knockback effect can be used to throw enemies off cliffs and ledges, into bottomless pits, and if there's a few opponents all standing in front of one of these pits, sweeping the gun across the wall and forcing them over the edge can be a great way to kill multiple players at once. So in conclusion, Roadhog has a very unique skill set, being a tank that acts like a close range bullet sponge. Unlike other tanks, Roadhog isn't very manoeuvrable, he isn't very good at moving away from danger quickly, and he's not that great at protecting himself or his teammates, solely relying on health top-ups to stay alive. He's useful at both attacking and defending, but despite that large health pool, he should be played in a passive-aggressive way, to flank enemies, focus on lone players, and pick off vulnerable heroes up close, staying out of clear line of sight, being the big slow target he is, and always have a backup plan in case you need to escape and regain health. So that's all for this one guys, hope the video helped out, hit that like button if it did, and subscribe to see plenty more. Take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.